Artcadets, and welcome back to our Tuesday Scribble Challenge. So I've got my blindfold, I've got my paper, let's scribble. So in today's scribble, I looked at my piece of paper with a scribble on, and using my black fine outliner pen, I outlined a shape of what I thought would be a tortoise. And I kept it fairly simple this week, and using my watercolours, I began by doing a underlayer of a yellowy colour for his head and feet. And then for the whole of his shell, I went in with a very light transparent layer of a sort of a muted green shade. And I was going to talk a little bit today about glazing. Now, I don't know if you've heard about glazing before, but basically all this is where you overlay lots of or several transparent washes. But the important thing if you're glazing is to remember that the layer underneath, or the layer that you put on first, needs to be completely dry before you add the next layer. And because the watercolours are transparent, so light can pass through them, they're not solid like perhaps acrylic paints that we've used, then layering on different colours in a sort of a watery wash can give some really nice effects, and it can change the colour of what you're putting down. So on top of my green layer, I added some brown and several different types of brown, and then I went in, as you can see here, with more of a reddish colour, and I think it gives a really nice effect. And at this point I decided that rather than just fill in completely the shapes of the scribble, I would leave a little rim around each of the shapes, so it looked a bit more like a tortoise's shell. So more specifically then, can't speak, glazing is layering of a wet colour onto a dry colour, and this creates more colours. So it's important when you do this that the layers that you're putting on top aren't too watery, as well as your underlayer being dry, because if they are, then you can get mixing of the colour underneath, and you don't really want that. You want all the nice transparent layers on top of each other, really. So you don't want it to lift the layer underneath by adding too much water, so make sure that the colour that you're putting on top isn't too wet but still contains the colour that you want to put on top. So if you were to add a layer of paint on top of an already wet layer, or a layer that hasn't dried, this is called something else. It's called charging. So you can get some really nice effects with this as well, and perhaps we'll have a go at that in another video. But the colours tend to mix together and create new colours that way. But for the sake of this video, I thought we would just do the glazing technique. So around the outside of the tortoise I then picked out a butterfly shape and did that in a nice bright orange, and then finished off filling in the background by doing some leaves in lots of different shades of green. Now if you're wondering, the tortoise is actually meant to be eating a lettuce leaf. Whether or not it looks like that, I'll let you decide. So I tried to use a lot of different greens for the outside leaves, but was careful not to use greens the same as his shells so that he would still stand out. And I also tried to keep the lettuce leaf more of a brighter green as well, so it wouldn't look like he's eating a leaf, I was going to say, but lettuce is a leaf. But yeah, just so that it would look different to the rest of it. So the other way that you can do glazing is you can add the same colour that you already put down again on top once the paint is dry, and that will just darken the shade that you're using. And I've tried to show on these leaves around the outside that they might actually be curling up, so the darker edges are meant to be the underside of the leaf, or the parts of the leaf that will be in shade. So at this point I thought I'd make the lettuce leaf a little bit bigger. And once this was all dry, I then decided to go in with I think it's light brown, I think that's the colour of it, just a fine liner, and go around the shapes in the tortoise's shell. And then once I'd done this, I got my black fine liner again and went round the outside of the butterfly and round the lettuce leaf as well. And then to finish the tortoise off, I gave him a sleepy looking eye. And then finally, just to finish it off all together, I just outlined the leaves in pencil and just gave them a bit more detail in some places by doing some of the veins on the leaf. And with that, he was done. I hope you like this video. If you do, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next week.